think it is okay. Yes. Okay. So we will start this webinar with an introduction from the ERA4Health coordinator, who is Cristina Nieto. So we'll give the floor to Cristina. Thank you.
Hello, good morning. Can you hear me well?
Yes, perfect.
Okay. And can you see the slides? Okay, thanks.
Yes.
So
Thank
first
you.
of all, I would like to thank you, Severina and Martin, for organizing this Info Day. I think this is a very good opportunity for all of you, and thank you all of you for attending it. I hope that it will be very useful for your participation in the first ERA4Health call that will be launched now or has already been launched. It's the first call of our ERA4Health partnership. So I would like to first make an overview of the partnership. My name is Cristina Nieto, as Severin mentioned. I'm the ERA4Health coordinator in representation of my institution, the Institute of Health Carlos III from Spain. Sorry. So first, I would like to show you some the objectives, the main objectives of the partnership of ERA4Health. ERA4Health is fostering an European research area for health, and this partnership will bring the opportunity to increase the European collaboration for fostering the research funding, creating a jointly funded body with different funding organizations all over the world, mainly European, but also from other third countries, in different priority areas that were identified in our strategic research and innovation agenda that will address the main European public health needs and set up Europe at the forefront of science and innovation in health research by 2050. The main specific objectives of the partnership are to support relevant medical research, including clinical fields and intervention areas such as prevention, diagnosis, treatment, improving the utilization of existing health technologies in clinical practice, building capacity, particularly while conducting clinical studies initiated by investigators at European scale, and implementing and developing responsible research and innovation in multiple ways, such as partnership operational goals, and also the project evaluation and the monitoring. And there will be a dedicated session for this purpose in this Info Day afterward. Firstly, the context for ERA4Health is that the majority of European investment in biomedical and health research belongs still to the member states. Only 10% of the overall European budget for biomedical and health research and innovation is considered collaborative research from framework program and European partnership mainly. Therefore, the Council adopted conclusions on a new era to foster this new era with a commitment of 5% of national public research and innovation funding to joint programs and European partnership by 2030. The 80% of partners in European partnership are the same, so there is a duplication among the funders, and therefore the number and thematic of the European partnership are limited. And there is also a new clinical trial regulation that allows the regulation of low intervention clinical trials. That is a context for ERA4Health, since in phase 2, as I will mention afterwards, we will foster goals specifically for clinical studies initiated by investigators. The working plan of ERA4Health, in the whole, it will be a flexible instrument for joint programming in the European priority areas that I will mention afterwards. And the partners mainly are research and innovation funding organizations at national, regional level, and from member states of European community, but also from associated countries and third countries. There will be a phase 1 of this partnership with a duration of 2 years. in which we will launch transnational calls as the one that will be presented today in the different priority areas identified for this partnership that are nutrition, diet and healthy lifestyles, cardiovascular diseases, and nanomedicine mainly. There are room also for other topics, but mainly are these priority research areas. And we will also establish a framework to support the multinational investigator-initiated clinical studies that will foster and develop further in the phase 2 that will have a duration of 5 years, in which we will launch calls in the priority areas identified before, and also calls for these clinical studies in health technologies addressing public health needs. Here is an overview of the timeline preparation of the partnership. In November last year, there was the publication of the draft proposal. The publication of the work package was in the end of last year. We submitted a draft ERA that is published in March this year, and submitted the proposal for the partnership with the first annual work plan in April this year. We have started our partnership after a successful evaluation of the submitted proposal in the 1st November of 2022, and we are starting with the launching. Sorry, with the launching of the.
A nosotros nos parece, pero
with the launching of the first goals and also the preparation of the clinical studies initiated by investigators. Here is the structure of the project with the different pillars that are in the partnership. Mainly there is a pillar for management and coordination, and also synergies with other initiatives. There is a strategic planning pillar with the development of annual work plans and the updating of this area that was identified, also exploring synergies and setting up a strategic advisory board. There is a mainly pillar 2 for joint funding activities with 2 sub-pillars, one dedicated for joint transnational calls, in which this call is marked, and then another pillar 2B that is focused on the development of this framework for the investigator-initiated clinical studies. And finally, there is a pillar 3 that covers transversal activities such as the responsible research and innovation activities and other cross-cutting issues, the capacity building activities, the monitoring and sustainability. The ERA4Health Consortia englobes 32 partners, mostly funding organizations, that covers 20 of the actual 27 members of the European Union, 3 third countries associated to Horizon Europe, Israel, Norway and Turkey, and 2 third countries, Egypt and Taiwan. And these partners covers the whole value chain of research and innovation, from basic research, from translational research and also clinical research. Mainly the synergies of the ERA4Health partner are with other funding programs funded by the European Commission that are in relevant specific areas. Other initiatives such as ERANET's partnership and joint programming initiatives or European joint program that are closely related with this ERA4Health partnership. And we will analyze the complementarities among the different programs to avoid overlapping, specifically with the topics that are funded in its goals. We will establish as well synergies with other funding instruments and co-funding instruments, and also with European research infrastructures. Mainly, I have to highlight that ECRAN, the European research infrastructure dedicated for clinical trials, is also a partner of our ERA4Health partnership, but also we will establish synergies with the other research infrastructures in biomedical field and the European Open Science Cloud. Mainly the priority research areas identified in the SRIA of ERA4Health are these four: prevention and public health strategies, nutrition and lifestyles related diseases, cardiovascular diseases, and nano and advanced technologies. But there is also, or there will be also room for flexible funding topics that could have a transversal approach towards a better disease prevention, diagnosis, and treatment, to cover also research domains that may not be well covered. And here I would like to highlight the two first calls that will be launched or have been already launched in the case of this call for ERA4Health partnership. Firstly, the cardinov call in cardiovascular diseases field that will be presented by the Joint Call Secretariat, the representatives of the French National Agency, ANR. This call was already published last week, and here is the link for the website of ERA4Health, where all the information of the call is published already. And in January, another call in nutrition and lifestyles related diseases will be launched with the Joint Call Secretariat DLR, the German agency, funding agency, and the pre-announcement of this call will be soon published. That's all for my side. Thank you very much for your attention. And I pass the floor to Severina Martin that will present the call. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Christina, for this nice introduction. And so now with Martin, we'll present you more in details the cardinov call. So I'm going to share with you some slides. Okay. Sorry, I'm just adjusting the parameters. Sorry, I'm just adjusting the parameters. Ah, okay. Okay. Okay, sorry. This joint transnational call on research targeting development of innovating therapeutic strategies in cardiovascular disease, that is called cardinov, has been launched last week on December 7th, as Christina mentioned it. In this call, 19 funding organizations are participating in this call from 15 countries that are represented in blue on this map. And we also have 3 European regions in Belgium and Spain. And the total budget for this call is around 18.9 million euros. And so, as I mentioned before, the French National Research Agency will be the Joint Call Secretariat for this call. And so, with my colleague Martin
Fíjate, pues yo creía que no había nadie para su red porque había un seminario ahora esta semana. Claro, digo, no me ha aguantado porque no. Vale. Si no, ya lo veré. ¿Dónde está el sudoku, tío?
Sorry, can you hear me?
Bueno, no te preocupes.
No, no, si yo quiero enseñarte si es...
Si por porcentaje,
A ver si
So
tiene
I'm
aquí...
muting some people, sorry.
a lo mejor
Okay.
No, no sé.
Okay. So during this presentation, as you can see, we will present you first the scope of the call, then the eligibility criteria for the evaluation of the proposals. Then we will show you the template of the pre-proposals, and we will briefly present you the submission tool and also the partner search tool. Sorry, can you please mute your microphone and video, please? Thank you very
No,
much.
y lo del 80%. Yo esta es la tabla que hacía. Yo la hacía esta tabla.
Severin, I think that you can mute the participants.
That's why we are trying to do this with Martin.
Okay. Sorry, the rest we cannot do that, but maybe
Yes.
you can do it. Thank you.
Okay, it should be okay. We can continue. Okay, so first I will present you the scope of this call. So first, as I said before, this call is focusing on research targeting the development of innovating therapeutic strategies in cardiovascular disease. And in particular, the proposals must present research that have to address one or both of the following topics that I will present you. So the first topic is repair and or regeneration of the heart and or the blood vessels. And so more precisely, the proposal should focus on the identification of integrative approach that are clinically relevant based on molecular and cellular levels and or the link between these two levels. And more precisely, poorly known mechanisms should be the focus of the proposals. So for example, inflammatory reaction, amyloid accumulation, endogenous mechanisms of repair, or the mechanisms that are linked to thromboembolisms and or related to macrovascular compartment and autonomous nervous system. But please note that, of course, this list is not exhaustive. These are just some examples. And the proposals can also focus on the development of cell and non-cell-based approaches in combination with bioactive biomaterials and or bioengineered patches or grafts. Then the second topic of this call for proposals is about chronic heart failure and atrial fibrillation. And in particular, the proposal should focus on the development of treatment strategies that can reverse the pathophysiology responsible for chronic heart failure, especially with preserved ejection fraction, atrial fibrillation, and or both disease. And also, the therapeutic strategies should take into account patient comorbidities and their potential treatment. It is important to note that for these two topics, there is a kind of research that is excluded. So the research on cell therapy is really strictly restricted to novel and innovative approaches. So please note that otherwise research on cell therapy will be considered out of scope. In addition of these two topics, I also would like to highlight some specific points related to this call. So first, your proposals must demonstrate a potential and impact and also an economic impact. And so in your proposal, you will also have to highlight the added value of transnational collaboration. So with for example, the sharing of expertise and resources, harmonization of data, access to innovative technologies, for example. You will also promote translational research, and in particular demonstrate the benefit of working together and the unique contribution of each partner. You are strongly encouraged to engage end users, such as patients, industry, and clinicians. Please note that the participation of end users as partners may vary among the funding organizations that are participating in this call. So end users can be either funding partners if they are eligible for funding organization, or they can also participate as collaborators, so with on budget, or they can also participate as part of an advisory board. Then you are also encouraged to consider the gender balance in the composition of the consortia, and also to balance the responsibilities between them. And you are also encouraged to involve early career scientists, such as master, PhD, and postdocs, to participate in your consortium. Then the proposal should also consider potential moderators of effects, such as age, sex, gender, and ethnic or other demographic features in the respective research approaches. Then the use of approaches from precision medicine, personalized medicine, and nanomedicine are encouraged. And finally, you should also make use of existing biobanks and existing cohorts, if it is, of course, applicable. And so otherwise, it should be really explained why existing biobanks or cohorts are not used in your project. Regarding the types of studies that are allowed in the framework of this call, as you can see, in vitro, in silico, and animal studies are of course allowed, but please note that these studies should be related to human health, since this call promotes translational research. Then studies on human biological material or using data existing in databases from completed clinical studies are mandatory. And then finally, small-scale clinical studies up to phase 2 are allowed, but please note that the start of other clinical studies is excluded in this call. Mainly because of the funding instrument that we are using through this call. We have some budget limitations, and the project lasts 3 years, so we have some limitations regarding clinical studies. And finally, a last point regarding the scope of the call. We'd like to inform you that the adequacy of your proposal with the topics of the call will be assessed by the evaluation committee that is composed of international experts recognized in their field, and so they will evaluate the proposals according to the evaluation criteria that will be presented afterwards. And so neither your national funding organization nor the call secretariat will be able to give you advice on this specific issue. Now I'm going to give the floor to my colleague Martin.
Thank you, Séverine. Is the sound okay?
Yes.
Thank you very much, and good morning to all of you. So now I'm going to present you the eligibility criteria. And you will see there is 2 types of eligibility criteria, some at the national and regional level, and some in the global or in the joint call. So first, I would like to explain you the funding modalities, because as Christina showed you, this project is supported by the European Commission, and as you see in all our logo, it's also co-funded by the European Commission. However, it is each national regional funding organization who has going to fund their respective applicants. So it's really important that you check the eligibility for each funding organizations which are represented in your consortium. And you will find all the rules in the Annex 1 of the call text on page 17. If you have some doubt or some misunderstanding of the text which is written, please do not hesitate and reach your national contact, because you should really take care about all the eligibility of the partner that you have in your consortium, because if one is not eligible, all your consortium can be not eligible. So do not hesitate to contact your national or regional contact person. And in the case you have in a consortium a non-eligible partner, you will see a bit further in my presentation, he can still maybe participate as a collaborator on his own funds. And there is different point of attention that you should take care about the national regional funding organization rules, because they can differ from one to the other ones. And these different points are the following ones. So the fund entity. Some funding organization can fund academia, clinical, public health sector, enterprises, and operational stakeholder, but some of them will be able to fund only one type of entity or two or three. This is also the same for the type of study. Preclinical or phase of clinical trials will not be funded by all funding organizations. Also, the maximum of funding per partner can be different. The type of cost eligible, and also some funding organization will ask to their participants some additional documents during the submission process. So some applicants will have to submit also some document to their national or regional funding organizations. So again, if you have any doubt, just reach your contact person and this person will help you. Now I'm going to present the general rules to apply to the CARDINNOV call. So concerning the composition of the consortium, we need a minimum of 3 eligible partners from 3 different countries participating to the call. So you can see below all the participating countries. And I would like also to highlight that Belgium is represented by 2 funding organizations, one for Flanders and the other one for French. And also for Spain, there is 2 funding organizations at the national level, but also there is a region, Andalusia, which will participate to the fund. So minimum of 3 eligible partners and maximum of 5 eligible partners. And in addition, you cannot have more than 2 eligible partners from the same country. So we do some exceptions. So you can have 6 or 7 partners in your consortium, but you need to include some partners from different countries, which are listed on this slide. So this is for concerning Latvia, Lithuania, Romania, Slovakia, and Turkey. So if you have at least one of these partners coming from this country, eligible by the funding organizations, you can add 1 or 2 more partners. And as I mentioned earlier, you can also integrate some collaborators in your consortium, which are some self-funded partners. So why you will integrate some collaborators is because you may want to work with some researcher or other type of organization which are from a country which is not represented by funding organizations, or as I mentioned earlier, that there is one funding organization, but there is the partner is not eligible for these funding organizations. So we have different conditions also which apply regarding the collaborators. You can integrate a maximum of 2 collaborators. They should show a clear add value for the research project. So they should secure their own funding for the participations. A letter of commitment of a collaborator should be included in the pre-proposal. And a collaborator cannot be a work package leader. So just to resume what I have said, here you have the smallest consortium that you can, which can apply to a cardinov calls. So minimum of 3 eligible partners from 3 different countries. And the maximum of the biggest consortium will be composed of 7 eligible partners from at least 3 different participant countries, but also 2 of these partners should come from some underrepresented countries. And you can then also include 2 collaborators. There is other general rules. So you cannot submit more than 1 proposal if you have a project coordinators. And if you act as a partner, you can submit 2 proposals. The submission of a proposal should be made only via the submission tool called PT Outline. So Séverine will present it to you later on. And this before the 7th of February, before 4 o'clock in the afternoon. As well, you should respect the proposal template. So I will not read now all this, but there is some instruction regarding the format of it, and it should be respected. So to help you, because we know that it's not so easy to find your way in this eligibility criteria, in the pre-proposal template, the first page is a checklist for the coordinator to be sure that you respect all these eligibility criteria. Next slide, please. So if you have more questions about regarding the general rules, you can contact us, Séverine or myself, but please use this alias, this mail, which is written now in the slide, because by this email you will reach both of us, and if one of us is absent, the other can reply to you. So thank you very much. Now I'm going back to give floor to Séverine.
Thank you very much, Martine. Now I'm going to talk about the pre-proposal template. So first of all, I will talk about general instructions regarding the pre-proposal application form. You will have to submit only 1 joint proposal that will be written in English, and this proposal template will be submitted only by the coordinator by uploading the document on the electronic submission system. So you can see the link here, and I will present you briefly the submission platform after. As Martin mentioned before, only proposals using the official templates will be accepted, and so in particular all fields should be completed and should respect the format of each section. You should also respect the fonts, the size and the characters, and also the paper format. It is important to note that the same indications should be written in the PT Outline platform, that is the submission platform, and in the proposal templates. And please note that in case of inconsistency between those 2 documents, the information that are registered in the electronic submission tool should prevail. And finally, of course, we ask you to respect the submission deadlines. So please avoid the submissions on the last moment. And so the deadline for the pre-proposals is set on February the 7th at 4 o'clock. And no proposal will be accepted after this deadline. And also will not accept any proposals sent by emails. Only the proposals that are submitted on the submission platform will be evaluated. So here on this slide, you can see the main sections of the pre-proposals. So I will show you in more detail the template of pre-proposal, so it will be easier to explain you this different section. So I will just stop the sharing and show you the document. So in 1 minute. Okay, I think that now you can see my screen. So here is a template for the pre-proposals. So this document can be downloaded either on the ERA4Health or also on the submission platform. So as Martin already mentioned, so on the first page, you have some guidelines about on how to write the template and all the characteristics that should be used for this template. So I have already presented you before these instructions. Then you have a checklist for the coordinator. So first you have a checklist about the topic of the proposals, then about the composition of your consortium. And you have also a checklist about the eligibility of the project's partners, and in particular, the eligibility that are depending on the funding organizations, as you can see. The first section of the pre-proposal template is about general information about your project. So you have to mention the project title, the acronym, and the project duration. And you also have to indicate the total requested budget and also the total project cost, that is the total requested plus the in-kind budget. Then you should indicate the technology readiness levels of your project. So first, the TRL at the start of your project and the expected TRL at the end of your project. And so to help you with this, we have indicated you definitions of these different levels. So you can use this to fill in this section. Then you have to select the subtopic of your proposals. So as I already explained, your proposal can address topic 1 or topic 2 or both topics. Then you have the keywords and the abstract of your proposal. The section B is about the composition of your consortium. So first, you have to fill in information about the consortium coordinator. So in particular, the name of institution, the country, the type of entity, so university, hospital, research institute, industry, associations, or others. And then you also have to fill in all information about the research partners that are asking for funding. So as Martin said, the consortium, the size of the consortium can be increased to 6 or 7, but only if there is a partner from an underrepresented country. And then you also have to fill in the information about the collaborators, so the partners that are not asking for funding. And we would like to highlight that each collaborator has to describe the resources that will be dedicated to the project. And in particular, they should sign a letter of intent that should be included in the pre-proposal template. Then there is a section about the project description. So as you can see, for each section in red, you have the limit of each section. And so please note that if some sections are exceeding the size limit, the proposal will not be evaluated. So it is really important to respect this limit. So first, you should describe the project background. So in particular, the state of the art, the description of the knowledge gap, and any prior work related to the proposal or preliminary results. Then you should describe the aims of your proposals, as you can see in a table, in which you will list the main objectives in order of priority. And in particular, you have to indicate which partner is responsible of which aim or workload. Then there is a relevance of the aims of the call. Then the work plan. So in this section, you will describe the work plan, so including the objectives, the rationale, and the methodology, and in particular, the different work packages of your project. And so as it is written, you will describe the different role and responsibility and workloads of each participating research partner, so including the collaborators, of course. And you will also have to use this kind of table to summarize the different work packages and in particular the person months and how the partners are involved in different work packages. Then you should describe the work plan and the timeline as a diagram. Then the expected added value of transnational collaboration and also the potential for a long-term international network. Then there is a section that is dedicated to responsible research and innovation and other cross-cutting issues. So regarding the first part of this session about RRR aspects, my colleague Cecily will present you this aspect in more details. So I will let her explain this in more detail afterward. Then in this section, you have also a part about the stakeholder involvement, so in which you will describe the role and contribution of operational stakeholders, so if it is, of course, applicable. So with stakeholders, you can have such as patient groups, citizen representatives, local communities, etc. Then again, if it is applicable for projects with high potential of applicability at short or major term, you should explain the expected time for market and transfer to patients toward clinics and public health applications. And in particular, the quality of dissemination, exploitation, and business plan. And there will be also a part on ethical considerations. So at the pre-proposal stage, you just have to tick this box, so indicating that your proposal complies with ethical principles. But please note that at the full proposal stage, you will have more details to include about ethical aspects of your proposals. and in particular, the projects that will be selected for funding will be checked by an ethical board to be sure that the proposal complies with ethical norms and regulations. Then you should include your references. And finally, the scientific justification of the requested budget. So we will, so for each partner, you will describe the requested budget as a text, as a written text, and then you will also have to fill in this budget table, so in which there are the different category of costs. So as you can see, you have different categories for personnel, consumables, equipment, subcontracting, other direct costs, including travels and overheads. Please note that for each category, you should indicate the budget requested and also the total budget, that is the requested budget plus the in-kind budget. And at the end of the table, of course, you should indicate the total requested budget of your project and also the total cost of the project. And as it is written in red, please check carefully that the information entered in the submission platform and in this template are consistent. It is really important. And finally, we will ask you to include some specific documents in the annex of your pre-proposals. So first, for each partner, so for each principal investigator, we ask you a brief CV. So as you can see in this table, this should include the personal information, expertise, the role within the consortiums, publication, and if needed, additional information. Please note that each partner should be represented by a single PI, and proposals with extra CVs will be rejected. Then regarding the project collaborators, so the partners that are not applying for funding, as I already explained you, we will ask them to furnish a letter of intent in which the collaborators described their own resources that will be used during this project. And please note that this letter of intent has to be signed by the director of the institution and not by the researcher himself. And finally, we will ask a signature of all the partners and collaborators in the templates, as you can see here. And in particular, so you will have to declare your willingness to cooperate within the research consortium, and also you cannot receive other public funds to perform the described tasks in this application. So now I'm going back to my presentation. Okay. So now I'm going to show you very briefly the submission platform. So just to let you know, we are having some technical issue with the platform at the moment. So it is not open at the moment, but we are working on this. And so we hope that this will be resolved very soon. But I will show you briefly the different sections that will have to be filled in the submission platform. So as I previously mentioned, the pre-proposal template should be uploaded on this submission platform on PT Outline. And so we will not accept any pre-proposal templates that will be sent by email. So please use this platform, it is mandatory. So the link to access this platform is the following one. It is also available on the ERA4Health website. So the first step is, of course, to log in on this platform. Please note that for each consortium, there will be only one account that in general is monitored by the project coordinator. And so then the project coordinator will have to enter several details about the project. So as you can see, these are different sections on the platform. So general information about the project, and then information about the project coordinator and each project partner. So including, of course, the partners that are asking for funding, but also the collaborators. So it is really important to enter all the details about the collaborators also in the platform. And then in the section that is called project description, you will have the possibility to upload the template proposals. And then the final section, you will have the possibility to verify your proposal in this section and to submit your proposal. So please note that when the proposal is submitted, it is definitive. And finally, as we mentioned it before, no proposal will be accepted after this deadline. So please, if you have any technical difficulties with the platform, do not hesitate to send us an email. And so in particular, about more than 1 week before the submission deadline. Now I will give the floor again to my colleague, Martin.
Thank you, Serene. So now I would like to present you a partner search tool, which is provided by the European Commission, and it can be found on the Funding and Tenders portal. So this tool will allow you to search a special entity who could participate to your project. So maybe you are already familiar with these tools, but I will just show you a few screenshots. So you can find it in the how to participate, and then it's written at the bottom, partner search. And you reach this page, and for the cardinov call, you need to write this name of the topic, which is Horizon Health 2022 Disease 0301. And then you will find, you see there is 96 entity, which corresponds to the topic of the call. And if you add as well some keywords as cardiovascular, then you will find 36 organizations which may fit to your project, and you can look at the organization profile. So you may find additional functions if you are used to use this tool. However, with my account, I couldn't reach some of additional one. I think sometimes you can also publish some expertise requests, or you can also look at some posts of offer. But unfortunately, with my funding organization's profile, I couldn't reach it and I couldn't show you, but you may see more than I show you now. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. And so to finish with this presentation, we will briefly show you the timeline for the Cardinov call. So as we already mentioned, so this call has been launched last week on the 7th of December, and the deadline for the pre-proposal submission will be on the 7th of February. So then after this first step, the communication of the results of the pre-proposal assessment will be sent to the project coordinator at the end of April. And so we will also send the invitation for the full proposal. So the template for the full proposal will only be sent to the coordinators for which the proposals are invited to the second step. Then the deadline for the full proposal submission will be on June the 15th. Then there will be also a rebuttal stage at the end of August and beginning of September, during which the coordinators will have the possibility to answer the comments and questions of the reviewers. So just before the evaluation meeting for the full proposals. And finally, at the end of October, we will communicate about funding decisions to the applicants. So we'll send again this communication to the project coordinators. And finally, the expected project start will be between December 2023 and May 2024. So thank you very much for your attention. So now we'll have the next presentation.
I guess it's me. Is that right, Cecilia? Let's see.
Would you like to upload your presentation?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm trying. I'm trying. Let's see if I manage. I think you see my screen now.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Yeah. I hope it looks okay.
Yes,
I think
perfect.
so.
Thank you.
So, good morning, everybody. My name is Cecilia Mattison. I'm here today representing the RRI principles of research and innovation in ERA4Health. I am a pillar leader in ERA4Health for pillar 3 and also task leader for activities around RRI. I've been working with this for some years now in EuroNanomed, for example, and you will see that in my presentation. So I will say a little bit of what RRI is and some developments it has had from Horizon 2020 and how we talk about it in ERA4Health. How RRI is implemented in the partnership and how we work about it, and then especially how you as researchers can work with RRI in your proposals and present it in your work, how we will evaluate it, and then finally some advice or conclusions. I hope I will have time for that. So what is RRI? It is that you should base your research and innovation on societal needs, and if you can avoid undesirable side effects, you should try to. It's really to integrate responsibility into research and innovation practices. It's not a good idea to outsource this to specific persons or bodies, but working in transdisciplinarity collaboration is very good when it comes to RRI. And responsibility is related to many things, but you could focus it on the social and environmental, ethical or political issues that you see in your research. The SRIA of ERA4Health Scientific Research and Innovation Agenda, it presents RRI in 4 anchors or 4 direct actions. It talks about anticipation of the future, known and unknown risks in the science and technology. So to do that and to include broadly the stakeholders, I guess you've seen already that we actually design the proposal templates so it is doing RRI in somehow automatically almost. So keep that in mind. We ask about we talk about reflection, so that you actually look at the underlying assumptions and values that drive scientific research projects. And we talk about how you can respond to the reflections and the inclusions you do, and to design your research projects in a good way in this funding program. So when we present RRI like this, it's not exactly like you might be used to hear about it before from Horizon Europe, where it was very clearly linked to ethics, gender and open science as such. But they are still there. They are still very important cross-cutting issues in Horizon Europe, but they are almost grown to separate issues that are important in Horizon Europe. So in ERA4Health, then we really taken responsibility for RRI as such, and to implement into the partnership. Christina mentioned this specific objective 4, and to work with RRI, to put it into operationalization in the partnership, to implement it in calls, in the project evaluation and such. So what we want to achieve is to foster a design of inclusive and sustainable research and innovation, and to ensure true societal impact by the research that is funded. This is a bit of history, but what could you as ERA4Health partner project and scientist expect in ERA4Health? Well, we will definitely work with you when you have a project funded by ERA4Health, and you will hear about responsible research and innovation and help us develop it in the partnership. And we will use the common meeting spaces and use co-creation, talking with you, with our advisory board and other partners, and develop for example, guidelines on responsible research and innovation. We don't have a guideline today, but we have maybe sneaked in a mini guideline in the pre-proposal template. So you could look at that, and you have seen it already today. But anyway, there will be a guideline in the future and for future calls developed together with you. So what do we say today in this call to you as scientists? We ask you to explain how the project will demonstrate a commitment for investigating and addressing societal, ethical, political, and environmental or cultural dimensions in the proposed work. And as I also you all already seen, the proposal template, pre-proposal template elaborates a little bit more on the RRI dimensions. And I already mentioned public and user engagement, open science, and ethics as they are related to RRI for sure, and still important cross-cutting issues. And you already seen this one. Severin showed you the pre-proposal application form, so I just wanted to show you here again. And when I talked about mini guideline, I meant this. So the 7A text is really trying to guide your thinking around this. And the other points which are really related to RRI in many cases. And the call text is quite sure on this, but the reviewers will perform the assessment of the pre-proposal and compile a written evaluation of in form of scores. And the consortia can receive will receive the evaluation and also could have some advice on how they do have their RI approach. So it's a part of the evaluation. And then I just wanted to show you here a very old study we did back in 2017 in Euronanomed, and we just started to introduce the RRI concept into the calls we had. And already back then, the experts really appreciated and saw that including RRI aspects in the proposal did have some effect on the overall quality of the proposal. So that is our aim, I would say, is to really help and support the quality of the proposals that you make. But I want to emphasize something which I haven't said yet, and that is you can write a lot in a proposal, but when it comes to RRI, it is actually the project and the doing of the project, the process and what's happening in the project, and opening up to discussions that is the most important thing. What you write has nothing, no impact, make no difference if you don't really open up your discussions and are open for change during the project. So to see it as a process as such. Yeah, I guess time is going fast. Look at the left side. I will come back to the right side later. But anyway, I talked about my 3 main advices on how to approach responsible research and innovation, and how the 3 fundamentals. The most important thing is to, in your consortia, in your collaborative setting, you have to agree to that you want to do RRI, to have this process, to have these open discussions, and to agree that it's an added value. That's important. Talk about it and discuss what is important for my project, or our project, I mean. And then this process dimension, that you know, if you write things but don't do things in your project as it goes along, then it has no added value at all. Or of course, it could have some value on how you design things and how you choose your methodologies and so on, but it's important to be open all the way. And then also to really put the responsibility discussions in a scientific context. So don't write about it too generic, but really exemplify how what your project is going to do, how you choose to do things in the context of RRI. So that was it. I'm not sure how long it was, but hope and for sure open for questions.
Thank you very much, Cecily, for this nice presentation. So now we are moving to the last presentation of this first session. So we'll have the opportunity to take all the questions that are remaining during the Q&A session during the last part of this session. So now I would like to give the floor to Vic van Geest, who is an emeritus professor of cardiovascular and clinical pharmacology, and he will present you another perspective from an expert point of view and talk about experiences and general feedback.
Well, thank you, Severin. Can you upload my slides, please?
Yes, for sure, I can do that.
I don't see them yet.
Yes, just a few seconds.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everybody. As said, I will give some personal experience of what I've been encountering during evaluation of proposals within the setting of EU calls. And my experience is based on, as probably a lot of you are here in the call as a potential applicant for this call. I was also applicant for several calls or co-applicants, and that's one of the experience. But I have been also a reviewer of calls, remote reviewer, but also member of committees reviewing centrally calls. And during the last ERA CVD project, I was involved there in designing the European research agenda for cardiovascular research in Europe. So having these experiences, no guarantee that what I'm saying is leading you to a granted goal, but maybe it's of help for you. Let's start with the next slide, Severin. If you look at how calls, proposals are evaluated, of course, there are already for many years three important issues, and that's excellence, impact, and the quality of the and efficiency of the implementation. And I will give some reflection on all these three issues, and I will come back probably to a lot of the details who were already given during this morning, but I will add something specifically from my experience. Next slide, please. What you see on the slides and on the next all the next slides is that in black you see text which is there in the call text, so you can look that up again. And in red I give some of my reflections. Already it was discussed what the theme is of the call. It's repair, regeneration, and heart failure or fibrillation. And of course, when looking at your proposal, one of the first thing reviewers will do is look at the excellence of the scientific excellence of the proposal. Of course, in general, it should be state of the art, the way the questions are formulated, the objectives, and the methodology used. But within this call, I think there is a strong will of the funders here to see a new innovation potential. As we have heard, this ERA4Health project has a horizon which is not only limited to a few years, but to many years. and it should really bring innovation potential to flourish and to be applied in the clinical situation. So for repair and regeneration, it's looking for mechanisms which are now poorly understood, and you already heard that this call is, well, not so much on cell therapy, because we have seen already a lot of work there which has been in the field of cardiovascular being well, disappointing so far. So the committee who discussed this was very much more in favor to look also in repair, and you know that in vivo gene editing has shown some interesting results, not in the cardiovascular area so far, but in other areas. And maybe here this could be helpful in disease of more genetic or origin. Heart failure and afibrillation that's focusing on the fact that cardiovascular disease is getting more and more chronic, and that we have some treatments for AFib and heart failure, but they are slowing down the progress of the disease. The committee would be very in favor of seeing proposals which are really looking at the reversal of the pathophysiological mechanisms. And as I said, especially treatment for heart failure with preserved ejection fraction has a priority in the whole. And as you know, heart failure and AFib will coincide often in patients up to 40%. And it will be interesting to see proposals who are looking at the combination of those two diseases and trying to find solutions for that problem. Next slide, please, Sabrina. You have heard already a lot on the importance of the consortium and this consortium, and the way it's formed should be also be excellent, and certainly since this is a multinational initiative, it should be very well defined that there is complementarity of the participants, and that the participants are using infrastructure which is probably or sometimes not available in every country, but by using and working together in this way could give some use of these infrastructure, and could be also the start of new infrastructures. It's nice when you can show that you have worked before. It's not a prerequisite, but showing previous collaboration is helpful, but also showing that you have here a situation of complementarity is also very helpful to report in your proposal. You have heard the RRI principles, which are getting more and more important. I think it's very important to show that there is gender balance, and that there is also a way to support junior early career researchers, and that this is not only in the long list of participants in the project, but that these balance and the participants of early career researchers is also in leadership positions. Next slide, please. And finally, in the excellence, there is always the question, and how will the results of your proposal lead to solutions in the clinical situation? And I think it's not enough anymore to say, well, the results of this research will contribute to the better treatment of heart failure. You should generate a more detailed roadmap of how your results will lead to specific solutions in which you are studying. Then, apart from excellence, and the next slides is the next group of criteria which have to do with impact. And I think that's getting more and more an important issue. Society is asking, why are we spending so much money on research? What do we get back? And I think we have the obligation and to show what the impact will be of the research you propose and why this kind of money is needed. So what you surely have to show is that you have some impact analysis showing what the impact of the disease is and what the impact of your results will be on that that problem, that clinical problem. So that should be a serious part of your proposal. And if you are proposing a study which is very clearly to related to a solution in a clinical situation, so related to product development, then it's good that you show what patents are involved, how your experience is as a translational researcher, what role there is of private parties supporting the product development, and that should be clearly addressed in your proposal. Next slide, please. So what is also important, and I already mentioned, is that it's very important to use existing infrastructure, show how you will share your resources, how you will share your data. It's important to have a credible data management plan in your proposal, which help to develop further European data collections. And if you decide to use human biological material or clinical data which are already available, and it's mandatory to use that and not to generate within your project new databases and new biological material which is already there. It's a duplication, it's a waste of money, it's not efficient. So please be aware of that. And if you can expand existing clinical database, that would be a good argument. I think it's also important when you are thinking of your team for the proposal. It's very important to avoid redundancy. The different members of the team should be complementary, and there should be no duplication. It's very important that you make that visible in your proposal. Next slide, please. As I said, if you have work a proposal which is directing at a product which can be applied in the clinical situation, then it's very important that you have all the regulatory things, the patenting, the state-of-the-art clinical testing very well described, and showing that you have the capability of doing this in the right way, so that at the end you will have data which can be lead to a approval at the regulatory level. Next slide, please. I think this is already discussed. It's very important to engage end users. I think the word strongly encouraged is maybe too weak. I would say from personal experience, it's well almost obligatory to engage end users, and don't do this at the final stage of your planning of the proposal, but try to involve these end users already in the development of your work plan. And from our experience, it's mostly leading to an improvement of your proposal, and so to an improvement of your personal development. So I would strongly advise to use end users, engage end users, and do that at a very early stage. And end users are not only the patients, but certainly also industrial private parties, so well, and also clinicians, but also people from basic research, so that you have the whole palette there and the whole scale of the different steps you have to take. Next slide, please. Next one. Yeah, then the work itself, I think it's very important that you can convince the reviewers that your work is feasible. It's based on preliminary results who are credible, and which can serve as the basis for your proposal. The questions you're addressing are really important and need solutions, and that should be a work plan who gives credit to all these elements. Of course, the next slide, the budget, as you can see from the annex of what every country can spend on the different proposals, is not a 6 or 12 million budget, but it's much lower, and the time you have is 36 months. So make a clear work plan, of course, with the different work packages, giving clearly the responsibilities of the different partners, but don't overdo it with too much work packages which are not realistic. It's important that you establish leadership, and that you very carefully and indicate how leadership has been distributed among the partners, and it's also important to have a backup if one of the work packages is not generating the specific data which were expected, that you have a backup of how you will handle and deal with that. Next slide, please. So I have already said this, it's mandatory that you use existing biobanks and cohorts who are well defined. If you don't do that, then there is a problem, and you have to have very serious reasons to not oblige to this rule. Next slide, please. Then the budget, you have seen already the form, the pre-proposal form in which the budget is indicated. I think in this stage it's important that the budget is realistic, and that you can show that how you use it. This part of the proposal will be even more important if you are invited to writing a full proposal. Then the budget should be really important in giving the yes or the no to your proposal. But in this stage, you should show that there is a realistic budgeting of the whole project. And I think that we then come to the final slide, and that's more some last words from my side. I think it's very important when you start to engage to make a proposal, that you start with the team. That's essential, that you start to see how the different partners can contribute to a work plan which is not feasible within your country itself, and that with choosing the team, you have a complementarity using European infrastructure, or creating or making this infrastructure even more stronger. I think that you should realize that scientific excellence is still key, but there is definitely a trend that you generate something which will give an impact on health and healthcare and health in Europe, because that's the whole idea behind ERA4Health. So please be very careful in delineating what you are generating on solutions for health in the next decades. And also, you have heard in the opening remarks that ERA4Health is not a very short-term initiative, but will be there for many years, plan beyond. So, you know, with the budget now available and the time available, you can't generate the final solution, but maybe you can do a big step forward, and in next calls you can build upon that. So plan beyond the present situation. And finally, I know writing all these applications is very stressful, but please have fun with meeting new friends in Europe and creating nice science. Thank you for your attention.
So thank you very much, Vic, for this nice presentation. We are sure that it will be really useful for the applicants. So now we are so at the end of this first session of this webinar. So this is the Q&A session. So we have already answered many questions in the chat, and we still have time to answer your question in the chat. So I am checking in the chat the question that have not been answered. Okay. Okay. So we have a first question about the collaborators. So if a collaborator has to be from eligible countries, or if it is possible to include it from another ones. So a collaborator is a partner that is not asking for funding. So excuse me, can you please mute your microphone, please? Thank you. Thank you. So a collaborator is a non-funded partner, and so this collaborator can be either from an eligible countries, because it can be a partner that is not eligible from its funding organization, or a collaborator can also be from a country that is not participating in the call. So you have two possibilities as a collaborator. So then we have a comment about the use of existing biobanks. So the mandatory use of existing biobanks is exclusive to projects requiring biobank samples, or is it mandatory to use samples from biobanks? So as it is written in the call text, so the studies on human biological material is mandatory since the call promotes the transnational research. And so as it is stated, you are really encouraged to make use of existing biobanks or existing cohorts if it is applicable. But if it is not the case, you should really explain why existing biobanks or cohorts are not used. And then you should be really justify this aspect in your proposal, and it will be the role of the evaluation committee to evaluate if it is appropriate and adequate to this call. Then about, again, the mandatory use of existing biobank, can the collection of sample be done during the project? So yes, the collection of sample is allowed in the framework of this call, but again, the adequacy of your scientific aim will be evaluated by the evaluation committee. Cardinov will be a yearly call. I think that this question has already been answered before. So this call, Cardinov, will be only launched this year. So this year we have a specific call on cardiovascular disease, and we cannot tell you at the moment if there will be another call dedicated to cardiovascular disease in the next year. So at the moment we cannot give you this information, unfortunately. Sorry, I'm going to mute mic. Okay, sorry. Could we please get a recorded video? So yes, all the presentations have been recorded, and we will share the content of the video in addition of the slides on the ERA4Health website, so on the page that is dedicated for this call. So then, where can we find the search for entity tool? Is it active yet? Maybe Martin, if you want to comment on that aspect.
The partner search is on the European Commission's website, is in the participant portal from the European Commission. It's the same partner search tool that you could use to apply to some calls from the framework programs. I can add the link on the chat.
Thank you, Martin. Then we have a question to Professor Van Gist. So during your talk, you mentioned gene editing as an example for cardiac repair regeneration. Can you give an example for that? If you could comment on this question, Vic, please.
Well, there are, of course, certain cardiomyopathies who have a genetic origin, and if you can repair in vivo this genetic defect, then maybe you can reverse the cardiomyopathy. And of course, this is not clinical reality at this time, but there are groups I'm aware of who have done this in animal models. And as I said, in other areas outside of the cardiovascular, there has been successful gene editing, reversing disease.
Thank you very much. So then we have a question about the scope of the call. So is the development of a medical device such as a novel hemocompatible coating for artificial heart considered inside the scope? So as I said before, it will be really the responsibility of the scientific committee who will evaluate your proposal that will judge the adequacy of your proposals. But well, I think that this topic, this kind of research is related to the first topic, in which in particular the development of cell and non-cell based approaches are allowed. But please note that the project should be really a research project. So it is important to keep it in mind. Then, can researchers from UK be included as partners? So yes, it is possible, but as collaborators, so meaning non-funding partners, because the UK is not participating in this call, but it is of course possible to include partners from UK if they have their own secured funding to participate in the project.
Yeah, in the previous ERA CVD network, the UK was also not a partner, but several English researchers have participated in several projects which were approved.
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you for this additional information. Is it still possible to register to the matchmaking event? So unfortunately, it is not possible to register now to the matchmaking event because at the moment we have many registered participants to this event, and we had to organize sorry, the different virtual spaces in order to balance the participants in the different spaces. And we also previously sent the booklet, including all the details about the participants that are registered to this event. And we cannot share anymore this booklet with the partners that are not registered, unfortunately. Are there any calls related to healthy living technology, or it is contained in the JTC 2023? Maybe if Christina is still here, if you would like to comment on that specific aspect.
Sorry, Severin, can you repeat the question?
Yes. Are there any calls related to healthy living technology, or it is contained in the JTC 2023?
Regarding the well, I'm not sure exactly about the healthy living technology, what is exactly meaning, but about a healthy diet, most surely there will be there will be another call in the GTC 2023. I'm not sure if they are referring to that. And on the next following years, the topics for the calls are still to be decided. I don't know if they are referring to the healthy diet field or it's another thing.
Okay, so thank you, Christina, for your answer. Then we have a question about clinical trial. Is a phase 2 clinical trial eligible would the data acquired during this clinical trial be considered as human biological material with respect to the sentence studies on human biological material or using data existing in databases from completed clinical studies, including bioinformatics and personalized medicine concepts are mandatory? So as we mentioned it in the presentation, so only small-scale clinical studies up to phase 2 are allowed in the framework of this call. So yes, it is eligible, and we consider that yes, the data acquired during the clinical trial can be considered as human biological material, but we strongly recommend you to contact your funding organization in order to know if phase 2 clinical trial is eligible for your funding organization, because it may depend on the funding organizations. For example, some funding organizations only fund preclinical studies. So it is really important to check this with your funder. And also, as we mentioned it, so with our funding instrument, we have a limitation with the budget and the duration of the project. So it should be taken into account if you are planning to do a clinical trial. So does thrombosis is include in blood vessel repair? Maybe Vic, would you like to comment on that aspect? I think that the answer is yes, but maybe you can talk a little bit more about that aspect.
Yeah, well, I not really understand the question, but mechanism including thrombosis in regenerating repair is included. But I'm not sure that I understand the question.
If Laurence Panico, if you can maybe develop a little bit more about your question in the chat.
Sorry. Hello, everybody. I just wanted to know, in the process of blood vessel repair, that as thrombosis is a logical, classical way to close the wound vessel, if this kind of concept is included in the blood vessel repair that has this call in this specific call. Or maybe hemostasis and not thrombosis, if you prefer.
Yeah, well, I think you should discriminate between the natural physiological effect of hemostasis and closing gaps in the vascular wall, or the role of hemostasis in the natural regenerating of vascular function. So the answer is partly yes. It depends on how you define your questions you are addressing.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Then, innovative ventricular assist devices development is of interest. So again, I think that this research topic should address the topic 1. So in the topic 1, there is no limitation about the cardiovascular disease that can be addressed. So again, if it is a research project and if some evaluation committee judge that this topic is in equation with the topic of the call, yes, it can be of interest and eligible. any updates on participation as partners of German teams in future calls, updates of the call. So it is difficult to answer this question again at the moment. So Germany is not participating in this call, but as we already discussed it with the UK, it is of course possible to include a German partner within a consortium, but this partner will be on its own resources. I have questions about the collaborators. So are collaborators taken into account in terms of gender equity and early career? So yes, well, the collaborators are the partners within the consortium. And so in general, you are encouraged to favor gender equality and also the participation of early career scientists within your consortium. So it can be, yes, for either for the partners asking for funding or for collaborators. Is it possible to receive funds to buy a product coming from Australia for the project? So I think that these questions is related to the eligibility of cost. So for this question, I advise you to directly contact your funding organization in order to know if your funder can allow you to buy a product that is coming from Australia. Then we have question about signature. Can PI signature be digital? So yes, of course, the signature in the pre-proposals can be digital. There is no issue with that. Are figures allowed in the pre-proposal? So yes, it is allowed, but even if you are included figures in your template, you should respect the limit size of each session. So as I said before, if a section is exceeding the size limit, your proposal may be rejected. So it is really important to respect this. So what means the person costs in the budget? So I think that you are speaking about the personal cost that had to be mentioned in the budget table. So in this table, it is mainly related to the salary of the person that will be involved in the project. So you will have to mention both the person months and also the salaries of the person that will be involved in your project. That has to be in adequation with the person months. When we will have information of what is required for the final proposal. So the template for the full proposals will be sent only to the coordinators who are invited to the second step. So unfortunately, we cannot communicate before about the content of the full proposal. And so we will send this information to the coordinators at the end of April. So before we'll not be able to send you the document. In the partner search portal, what is the specific name of CARDINNOV in program topic? I was looking into it, but it was not clear to me where to find partners for this call. Martin, would you like to ask to answer this question?
Yes, so I don't know it anymore by heart, but is it written in the call text? It's like horizon on a score HLTH score 2022 disease, something like that is written in the call text.
I can look for it in
Yes.
the call text.
It's also in the presentation if you want to share it again.
I shared it in the chat.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much. So we still have time for a few questions, but then in a few minutes we will begin the second part of the webinar. So in Portugal, the contribution from our funding agency for ERA4Health project, of which a Portuguese institution is a partner, is 150,000 euros. If the project is funded, does it mean that the maximum budget of the Portuguese partner is 150,000 euros, or can it be higher? For this question, so I don't know if we still have a representative for the Portuguese agency.
Hello, yes, I'm
yes,
here,
thank you.
Andrea. Yes, I already answered in the chat already. So yes, the maximum budget for a team participating in a project is 150,000 euros. But if you are the coordinator of the proposal, is 250,000, the maximum budget. I hope it's clear.
Thank you very much for this detail. So I see that it is noon, so I think that maybe we can take the last question, and maybe on the RRI, if Cecily, you want to comment your answer about that aspect.
Yeah, sorry for taking some time to answer because I had to take a phone call. But anyway, yeah, examples. It's I'm not sure how to answer really, because it will always be dependent on what you're going to do. What are the things to discuss? What are the methods to consider or change because of issues that you have? What are your values in your research? Who will the research benefit, and so on? What kind of discussions is it worth having? You know, but the pre-proposal template has 2 links to RRI tools, which could be helpful to look into. And since it's cardiovascular research and also nanomedicine relevant, could be. I also pointed at the old now RRI guidelines from Euronanomed, because it might be helpful to have a look, but please keep in mind that it's some years old now, and the examples that are there are nanomedicine related, and but the general points that are described at page 2 and 3 in there could help you in the thinking around your project. So that was my answer. Long, but anyway, take a look.
Thank you very much, Cecily, for your answer. So I see that we still have some questions in the chat, but it is time to move to the other part of this webinar. But we will keep this WebEx link opened until 1 p.m. so that we will be able to answer your questions in the chat, or also if you have a further question. So now it is time for the matchmaking event. So before we start the session, I would like to remind you some instructions. So